Hey y'all, it's Kristen. Welcome to the Tribe Podcast. Tribe is a resource podcast for entrepreneurs looking to build their entrepreneurial tribe. Over my years of working with business owners, I've realized that it's important to know who you need as a part of your network before you need them. Listen in as I ask my trusted resources the question you've always wanted answers to, but didn't want to pay to get. If you're new to your business or you're established and you're just busy, feel free to borrow my tribe as you build your empire. Meet Melissa Marks. Melissa is a mindfulness coach at Your Mindful Edge. She's going to talk to you about the mental strategies that you're going to need to be a success as an entrepreneur. Let's get started. We are here with Melissa Marks. Hi, Melissa.
Woohoo! I'm here. Yes. Hi.
Here. I have a feeling that's going to be happening.
Excellent. Let's do this.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Kristen. Truly, I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad to have you. I'm really excited to see what we get into. Our conversations are always so powerful. So
thank you.
Excited about it. So tell us about yourself and about your business.
Yeah, so you want to know a little bit about me. I started my business, which is called Your Mindful Edge. I went full-time in April of 2016. And before that, it was something I was doing for a number of years as a side hustle. And when I first started, it was very, very humble beginnings. I really believe in the idea of bloom where you're planted. And I was working at a women's shelter in 2005. And I was able to do mindfulness groups, meditation groups with the women that I was serving at the time. Obviously, highly traumatized women, but finding that this practice of attuning to your breath and calming the central nervous system had huge, profound effects. And I was really, really intrigued and started a small private practice at that point and moved to Dallas at some point later. I'm kind of tightening up my story. And it's been a beautiful journey of sharing this gift with other people. I really love seeing people grow and expand and let go of limiting beliefs so that they can truly live the life that they want to live. And for me, I started this myself personally back 21 years ago when I was 24 and needed it for myself to stay calm. I was incredibly stressed out, very much in the future in my mind, very anxiety ridden, and I had to stop that train and do something differently. My health was starting to suffer as a result of that. So it's just been a beautiful journey. I am so blessed to do what I do. I'm lucky.
Yeah, I know the feeling. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started to work with business owners and a little bit about the work you do with them?
Yes. I think I gravitate to business owners because of the type A personality. I jokingly tell people that I am a recovering type A personality. So, back when I was telling you that I started my journey, I really could not even celebrate a small win without already being on to the next thing. And this constant need and drive for success and a perfectionistic zeal that I had about me just was not serving anybody, wasn't serving me, wasn't serving anyone I was working with. I find that a lot of people in the business world, they're analytical, they're thinking people, which is all great. Those are wonderful qualities. But the parts of them that make them so great, there usually is also an underside, an underbelly, which was the case for me. And it seems to be the case with a lot of the people I happen to work with and attract. So I work with a lot of high performers, a lot of people with high ambition, but are sometimes shooting themselves in their own feet by some of the thinking processes that they have, the inability to let go, the inability to really find a place of calm, and realizing that that truly is their sense of personal power and strength. It's always found in the present moment. It's never in the future. So these are some of the things that I tend to see in the people I work with. And our work usually has to do with goal attainment, being able to help take someone from where they are currently in their career or in their life and helping them cross that bridge to be at that next level. And all of the time, it has to do with what's going on inside. So without inner awareness, we can't change the external. So I work specifically in the inner world with people, helping them get conscious and mindful about what's happening so that they can truly reflect that in their external life.
So how does it present to or from a business owner? What kind of problems do people come to you with? Because I know sometimes people bring me what they perceive to be the problem, but once I kind of get in there, it's really something else. So would someone be present to as an issue that they should be bringing to you?
Well, what typically comes to me is some kind of elevation of stature in their company or money or wanting to do a new thing. Some people want to leave their jobs and do this thing that they've always wanted to do, whatever that is. And so how does one go and do all of that? Sometimes it's financial goals. They want to make more money. And what we find that on the surface, those are all wonderful, great goals. But we start to kind of peel back the onion a bit, and we see that there is a lot there. There are emotional beliefs. There are perhaps old traumas that are locked in the mind and the body. The mind-body is one thing. And we work at uncovering that and understanding that we are always attracting. The law of attraction is not a thing to try to figure out how to manipulate to be and do. It's something that's already happening. We are attracting whether we are conscious of it or not. So I help people become conscious of what they are putting out. And there's a whole system and kind of and certain techniques, but that's the real deal, is awareness, consciousness. And I listen very, very closely to what people are saying and find if I hear little disturbances or areas where they are not energetically aligned with what they want, I help point that out. And that is where the work then begins.
So what is it like to work with you? What are some things, some tools maybe that you give people? Like, how would it even work?
Yeah, great question. And the cool answer is truly, it's pretty unique with each person, although there are some common themes. The first thing I do with people is I send a welcome packet to them, and it's a short questionnaire, about 10 questions, where I ask what they're seeking, what are their goals. And a goal can be not just a physical goal, but it can be an emotional goal, a spiritual goal. Maybe it's about relationships. It really can be anything. And from there, we start to make and develop a blueprint of what the work is going to look like. And truly, it's a matter of listening. I do a lot of listening. Typically, the way I work with somebody is 1 hour per week, and that's either face-to-face in my office. I also go to people's places of business and do phone and video sessions. Typically, the first 20 minutes of our call or our face-to-face is a check-in. How did the week go? What's happening? Where did you struggle? This happened, that happened. I didn't like how I responded here. This happened. We explore everything. The second 20 minutes is me giving them a customized guided meditation that is specific to them, specific to what they've just shared, and helps them cross that bridge to emotionally either let go of some things that need to be let go of, or also perhaps to try on for size a different emotional state, a different response. Because we're always creating new neural networks in the brain when we train the brain and the mind for new behaviors. So I'm constantly showing people, well, there could be another way. How could this look? What does that look like? And when the client is comfortable with this new approach, that's what gets integrated into the meditation so that they can practice positive visualization, mental rehearsal, or just energetically shifting and letting go of things. That's hugely important so that people start to then begin to attract what they need in their lives. So that's the second 20 minutes of our time, roughly. And then the last 20 minutes is a conversation. How did that go? Sometimes, oftentimes, there are aha moments of sorts where people notice something in that meditation experience, because it's really an experience. That's the thing. A lot of this is, I can talk about it all day long and people will kind of get it, but until someone experiences the meditation or experiences meditation just on their own, it's hard to fully put into words what it is. So that last piece is talking about it and then thinking about the week ahead. Okay, well, what's the game plan for this week? When my boss comes to me, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to hold my energy as a confident, creative female in the workplace or whatever it may be. But we're looking ahead. We're always integrating the new patterns into that person's real life experience.
As I'm listening to you talk, one, I'm feeling like this would be a really great way to be organized for the week, like to kick off your week or jumpstart on a Wednesday or something. Like it'd be a really great way to just get refreshed and get re-engaged.
Absolutely. There's a lot of power to setting an intention and being focused. Where we focus, that's where our energy goes. And oftentimes we get caught up in the minutia or perhaps the issues of the day, the problems, and we spiral around them and we forget that we are actually in flow, that there's actually a continuous process being had, which is called life. And it helps us get back into that place because that's really, again, our biggest place of personal power is tapping into that. So absolutely getting conscious, getting intentional, getting aware, and then going and doing you, being you. It's a powerful experience.
I am having this thought, and maybe we can do this later or not. You can tell me. I feel like it'd be really cool to do like a bonus episode that's like you leading a 5-minute or a 10-minute meditation or something. Or maybe like you doing I said doing one on me because I don't know how another way to say that well.
Heck yeah. Oh my God. I would love to do that.
Yeah, because we talked about doing that in a different format another time anyway. But I think it's hard for people to really grasp like what, if they've never meditated before. Everyone always says to me after I finish yoga teacher training, I talk to them about, meditation, and the benefits I got from teacher training were really more like interpersonal and figuring myself out kind of benefits, not like I'm not more stretchy or bendy than I was before I started. So I think it's hard for people to conceptualize the benefit of something that they've never done before or never really done well.
Exactly. Herein lies my problem, but it's always a challenge to find words to describe something that really has no words. It's beyond words. It's like, what is art? What is poetry? Just, what's the feeling you get when you see the sunset across a beautiful vista with mountains? It's an experience, right? We've all had that. If anything, that's what this is. But it's all through your body. It's all through your mind. We do not use our minds as fully as we can. That's the bottom line to all of this. I've been really blessed and lucky to have studied this for many years. And I don't believe ever in stopping my learning. And right now I'm actually you mentioned yoga teacher training. I'm in the process of completing a 200-hour meditation teacher training right now. So even though I started this 20 years ago and took courses then and did as much as I could to learn and have a master's degree and counseling and all of that, I don't stop because the best teachers are always students.
Right.
So the benefit is immense to continue to keep learning. But you're right, a lot of this is internal. And there's no difference between internal and external. And once you dive deeper into understanding that, you'll see that when you said you got more stretchy in your mind, you said it was less about being stretchy physically, but in your mind, you stretched incredibly.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about here. We're pushing the boundaries of what we think of when we think of ourselves. People are way more capable than they give themselves credit for. And it's my joy to help people uncover that. That's where I get my kicks. This is extremely rewarding for me. I love seeing that in other people.
That's awesome. Can you give us an example of, or maybe just give us a definition of mindfulness? Because I think that word gets kicked around a lot, and I bet there's some people out here that don't really know what it means.
Thank you. Yes, I forget to sometimes step back and talk about that. A great way of defining it is simply this: watchfulness, awareness. We get so caught up in we think we're the doer. Sometimes it's about noticing what's happening. We are the observer of what's being done. We are doing things are happening through us, but there's also that part of us that is the witness. That's mindfulness. And you have mindfulness in a formal sense. That's a seated practice that one will typically think of as, oh, I know what that is. That's somebody meditating. Yes, that's mindfulness. That's being aware. You're aware of your senses. You're aware of the sounds in the room. You're aware of your body. Most people just even getting in their own body and feeling their own body breathing, that is a big deal. Most people are living just in their head, but realizing that the mind and body are one thing, and getting in touch with all of who you are is what mindfulness is. And then there is the informal practice of mindfulness, which is mindfulness in everyday life. It's driving in the car, it's washing dishes, it's walking from your desk to the elevator. It's just being aware of what's happening.
So one of the things too that I know that you help people with are strategies around stress.
Yes.
How does this all fit together? How does mindfulness help you with decreasing stress?
Great question. The great thing about the practice of mindfulness, and really any meditation practice, you're going to be shifting from typically a stressed place. And sometimes we're stressed without even realizing, because it's such a part of who we are as a society. So that just rat race of go, 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 there's meetings, there's deadlines, there's family, there's driving home, there's rinse, repeat, and we're doing it again, any number of other issues that are happening. So we're just in this stressful place. What's happening in our brains is that the amygdala is firing a lot more than it should. That's the part of the brain responsible for fear and anxiety. And the sympathetic nervous system, which is one half of the autonomic nervous system, that is working more than it needs to be. So that's most of us all of the time. When we come into a mindfulness practice or a meditation practice, we're doing a few different things. We become aware of our breathing. Just by being more aware of our breathing, we typically start to slow the breathing down. It's just a natural response to that intention. By slowing the breathing down, we shift from the fight or flight, the amygdala, the sympathetic nervous system, into the parasympathetic nervous system. That is the slowing down of things. This is where our body comes back into balance. So it's been very well documented. Many, in fact, thousands of research studies have been done on mindfulness. It's very scientific and it's a very secular practice. It lends itself very well to being studied. So there are a lot of studies out there. And what they have found is that just by doing what I said, tuning into the breath, slowing down, you're naturally beginning to shift the body into positive ways. So they have found tremendous health benefits from everything from anxiety to depression to high blood pressure to IBS to sleeping better at night, you name it. There are just so many benefits to this, and stress is a big part of it. There's research out there that says that up to 90% of all illnesses are stress related. So stress is a big prime mover in our physical health. Stress impacts the body over time. We're wearing it down. And it's important to take a big look at that because we're hurting ourselves in the process of trying to meet those deadlines and get all those things done. We can still get them done and we'll meet all those deadlines, but we don't have to do it in the way that we have been. We don't have to rush through. We can take time for self-care. It's not the what that changes, but it's the how. How do I go about it? What is my energy like? Can I take a pause? I love teaching people about the weaving through the day, the mindfulness through the day, the checking in with oneself through the day. A lot of times people end their day exhausted. I have a lot of clients that tell me that. That's a pretty typical way of being in the world. It's just go. And by the end, we're done. And so mindfulness is a great tool for that. It's setting intentions, like I said before, in between each meeting. How is my breath? What is my focus? Do I have my calm? Do I have my center? What's important for me in this moment? Rather than just going on autopilot and then being exhausted at the end of the day.
Right. There's some people right now that might be listening to this in the car. You mentioned to me before we started recording, there was something you wanted to talk about in terms of a mindfulness practice that helps you stress while driving.
Yes. So I was talking before about the informal practice of mindfulness, which again is not about having a seated practice, but it's being aware in everyday life. And one of my biggest teachers, it seems, is being in the car. I am driving a lot these days. I live in Fort Worth and I'm in Dallas at least 4 days out of the week for clients and working. So I'm finding myself very often, and again, I think of myself as a pretty calm person, a pretty cool person, but I can just, like most people, I can lose it in a matter of a second. If there's a driver that does something like cut me off, I can just find myself getting upset. And I use this as a tool for my own practice. I practice patience. Patience is one of the pillars of mindfulness. There are 7 pillars, and the pillars are just foundations. They are ways that we can think about our practice. We both learn about those various traits like patience by practicing, and we get to explore them deeper when we do practice. So for me, driving is all about practicing patience. And it's not really exciting, perhaps, but it's clearly something that I need to learn. So taking anything that might be a challenge or something that we don't like, oh, I don't like being in the car all the time. I was saying that to myself all the time. Oh, I hate being in the car so much. Man, I'm always in the car. Kind of complaining to myself and realizing that there was really an opportunity there for me to develop and grow. And so it's just one of the many teachers that I have out there, which is our DFW traffic.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that about not liking being in the car. I make it a habit to live really, really close to the office and to not travel during times that there are high traffic. But I find that I end up missing that time that I have in the car because I never listen to audiobooks when I'm not in the car or on.
Yes,
So it's a good
absolutely.
opportunity to listen to a lot of content podcasts.
I agree. I'm actually listening to The Untethered Soul right now, that book. Did you ever read that in your yoga teacher training?
No, we read like 10 books though, but that was not one of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. There's always an opportunity to be more in flow. I was in resistance before, right?
Yeah.
Saying that to myself. And that's what mindfulness is about. It's noticing the mental habits. What are we saying to ourselves? Is that really, really true? Is that accurate? Is there a better response? And if so, what is it? Those are some of the questions that this kind of practice affords you. And just so many places to grow, and there are no limits. I think if anything about the value of this practice, anytime anybody thinks that there's a limit in some way, I would gently challenge them. And this practice will help uncover more possibilities and help people get back into a state of flow, which is really, truly our natural state.
So that's a good segue to talk about something that I know in entrepreneurs and people that are your clients are A-type personalities. So they're typically more results driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some stories or examples you could give of maybe success stories from clients or like some tangibles around what they've gotten out of working with you?
Sure, that's a great question. I have seen a lot of different tangibles. People who, when we started working together, they were not doing their own thing. They were not the entrepreneur. They were working for somebody else. And one of the goals and dreams was to go out on their own and work for themselves. I've seen and been the coach for a number of people that have had that transition. And then embedded in that is the whole, what do I charge thing? What am I really worth? And having that conversation with people and really exploring where that money belief comes from. And I know you and I really, this is probably a Venn diagram of you and I, right? Mm-hmm. Because I know you do this work all the time with people. Mm-hmm. And I would be the person that would take the deeper dive for that kind of client that you might take. I mean, maybe you take a super deep dive. I actually don't know that you do or don't. Actually, that's probably a good question for me to ask you. But that kind of exploration of helping people. So for tangibles, people have increased their rates while working with me. People have scaled their businesses while working with me. I've seen so much personal growth, and it can be in the form of something a little perhaps subtle. Thinking of somebody who he's a senior partner at a large firm, and just his management style was one of the things he wanted to work on. So when he works with people, he will typically, at first he was not even conscious of it, but he would go into parent mode. And all of a sudden, this person that was working for him, or these people rather, they would fall into the child role. Like, this is this big problem. I don't know how to solve it. And he would just immediately fall into that space of fixer parent, taking on way too much ownership of the issue. And so part of the mindfulness practice was for him to go back into adult mode. Really go back into letting go and letting that person also then come back into their adult space. So it can be as subtle as that. That's a pretty subtle thing to say, oh, I worked on that and now I'm a better leader. But it can be that granular to something very big in terms of, well, I quit my job and now I have my own business. It's a pretty diverse amount of great tangibles, but everybody I work with, that's my biggest goal, is that if they're not making changes and they're not growing, I'm no good at I'm not saying I'm no good at what I'm doing, but there's something going on there. So I make it my priority that people are having great, rich experiences. That's, again, why I do what I do.
Yeah, I know that. I think people underestimate the power of clarity.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
And so that's an outcome of working with you. And I think it's in a different way, it's an outcome of working with me. Like if you can get clarity of in one area of your life, the rest of the life of your life just kind of falls into place. And you can also get more confidence, which can lead to increases in rates, making more money. It's a really powerful thing where you can make a tiny shift and it can make a world of difference. Just facing
I love that.
and getting clear.
I love that. And while that is happening, the other piece that's happening in our brain is the neuroplasticity aspect, which we didn't talk about before with mindfulness, but this practice is changing your brain and you're reshaping all sorts of firings and synaptic connections in the brain. You're changing the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that is responsible for all of your executive functioning. So the ability to focus, the ability to have good decision making, the ability not to be emotional. That's another aspect I've worked a lot with people and had great success with. People that have, to their own admittance, have been what they think of as too emotional, perhaps even at work. Just taking things too personally, taking things way too personally, being way too connected, way too emotional about something. So that ability to take a purposeful pause, the ability to not simply react, but to respond, all of those are parts of the brain. That's the hippocampus. And all of those parts of the brain are being shaped and changed through this mindfulness practice. It's huge, like you said, and one little change adds to another, and before you know it, you're rewiring your brain for the better.
So we've talked a lot about your practice and about the ways you help business owners. Is there anything we missed that you want to make sure we cover?
I don't know. I think if you feel okay about it, I feel good about it. I know that there is so much to talk about, truly. Yeah. And I don't know if I have hit all the points, but maybe this would be an opportunity if someone had a question, they could contact me and we can go from there.
Let's do the tell us the story part, and then I'll ask about contacting you or how to connect with you.
Okay, tell you a story. Yes.
Yeah. Do you have a story already? You do, right? Yes.
I have a story. It's not so much a story, but more of a little thing that I do, and I do it all the time. And I was actually telling someone, another person that works in this related field, she does something a little different in the health and wellness space, but sees clients sort of similar model like that. And I told her that I set an intention and actually a prayer before every client that I see. And I set the intention for the greatest good for that person. And I let go of the event before. So if there was a client interaction before, I let go. And I consciously connect to the person I'm about to see, or if it's a corporate event, the group, or whatever the next thing is. But I specifically set an intention, and Google does this before every meeting. They set an intention. But I was telling my friend about it, and she said, wow, I don't do that. And sometimes, what do you do when you're kind of back to back? And I said, it doesn't have to be long. That can be 30 seconds. Sometimes it's 3 minutes. Sometimes it's longer. Sometimes it's 15 seconds. But it's a part of, it's the stitching, it's the weaving that I was talking about before. It's a part of how I work with people, because I want the very best for people. That's why I'm doing this. And when I set that intention and ask that they find the session meaningful and valuable, I have a feeling, not just a feeling, but the feedback I get from the end of the session is that it was valuable. It was meaningful. We're firing off each other all the time. There are mirror neurons, which are basically the fact that we're so connected. My experience is your experience. Your experience is my experience. A great example of mirror neurons is when one person in the room yawns and then the whole room all of a sudden is yawning. It's kind of like that. We're sharing an energetic field and space together. So if I'm intending for the very highest good to happen, that's what's happening. And it's an amazing experience to share with another person and be there alongside their journey like that. So when I told her about that, she said, wow, I'm going to start doing that too. And I said, okay, sounds good. I hope you do. And she's already serving clients in a beautiful way, and she'll only continue.
That example actually made it really real for me. Even I noticed as while it was happening, my energy from my last call was still a little high. And then we got on the phone and you were kind of taking some time just to like simmer down and be emotionally prepared and physically in your space. And I came back on the call like the second time when we started recording, and I was just a lot more calm.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, it's because I'm with Melissa. Like I'm just, we're together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this has been really great. I'm excited for people to get to know you and to learn a little bit more about mindfulness. If someone wants to reach out to you, maybe they have a question or they want you to come speak at their company or do an event, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Thanks for asking. And the best way is directly to my email or going to my website. My email is melissa@yourmindfuledge.com. So my website is yourmindfuledge.com, yourmindfuledge.com.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I appreciate talking with you and getting to share this time with you and just to talk with you and get to hopefully connect with some of your people. I'm here if anyone wants to ask a question, and there's no obligation either. When you reach out to me, it doesn't mean that you're going to all of a sudden have to start working with me. It can just be a question and an answer or a conversation on the phone. So I'm open to any of it and happy to be there for people.
Awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us, and I appreciate you listening to this episode. I would love to get some great feedback from you. Feel free to leave me a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Also, any ideas or want to follow up on anything that happened in this episode, I would love to receive your emails. You can email me at kristen@ashtoncharles.co. Otherwise, I hope this episode has helped you be great in your business.